All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, fellow Pandemonium travelers, this is Seattle Pandemonium Shutdown, day 347, I guess. So what's going on? What's going down? We've got, well, we landed another remote-controlled car on Mars. The Perseverance, I believe it was called. And it landed in a crater that used to be a Martian lake. And there were no aliens when it landed and started taking pictures. So again, I'm kind of bored. Like, find the Martian pyramid, guys. I'm losing wood here. Anyways, let's see. Texas is still frozen, and Ted Cruz is getting crucified. Am I right? On media, social media, mainstream media, getting crucified for the optics of taking a little trip to Cancun, I believe it was. So, all right. Bad optics. I'm gonna pull a Pelosi and I'm gonna head out and do my thing while y'all are sitting here literally freezing to death, some of you. Not good optics. Now, in his defense, he's the federal representative for the state, not the state representative for the state. Does that make sense? Now, he should read the room a little bit. Like, oh, I wanted to take my kids to Cancun and, have a holiday. Yeah, not a great time, man. I gotta say, not a great time. Not good optics. Read the room, bro. Yeah. So people are photoshopping him into the photos from the Mars rover, which, again, this Perseverance thing, I watched the landing. Like, I'm kind of confused, because doesn't it take like 15 minutes or something for like signals to reach Mars? Or is it 8 minutes? Or am I thinking of the moon? Isn't the moon like a few minutes and then Mars is like substantially longer? It's like 15, 20 minutes. I thought that was a thing. So we're quote unquote live watching the thing. But how do they control it from Earth? Or are they not controlling it at all and it's like all automated? Right? I don't know. See, this is why I'm not smart enough to talk about these things. But the most important thing is they've standardized all the NASA dress code so that, as someone else pointed out on Twitter, everyone looks like they work at Best Buy. So no one sees a custom-made shirt that has anime or comic girls on it and gets offended, when we're landing a robot on a comet, which has never been done, or only done the one time. And so no one gets upset. Because people are idiots. But yeah, so I watched the landing, but the landing looked like Microsoft Flight Simulator. It was showing me a virtual representation, it looked like a video game, of the lander and where it is and what it's doing and like the altitude and everything. So I'm sure the flat earthers are just like apoplectic about how it's fake, but there was a sky crane, allegedly, but not just a sky crane. Like, I've heard of this. Like, we would put this thing in orbit, right? And it would be like the space station, but it would have a crane, and it would lower, like, cable. I don't know how this would work really, but it would lower cables down to the Earth, and then you would lift things into space. So instead of firing rockets that, consume liquid or solid fuels or whatever, you would just lift things up into space with sky crane. Now, this Mars lander had a flying sky crane, so like the probe itself it blew its like heat shield off and then like transformed into a flying sky crane that then lowered and deployed the rover right onto the ground. Now, this is like, I don't know, man, like like when I think about the math behind all this like trigonometry and calculus and all this stuff, I can't. My brain doesn't do that. Like, I can understand some algebra. I can understand that there is math involved, but you show me any one of these calculations. The fuel burn rate per second, per kilometer per hour, to slow down the sky crane so that the rover doesn't just crater into the ground or miss your landing spot and then like cut the thing loose and it just tumbles like a, like a NASCAR wreck, and just, tens of millions of dollars of remote controlled robot are just scattered across the Martian surface. If you need to land a lander on Mars, I'm not your guy. I'm not your guy. I can't do that. And I think most people can't. I think it's actually so complex that most people can't do it. So these like NASA type people, not to fillet NASA completely, they've made mistakes and stuff, but they were sort of partially founded on Nazis, but that's a whole thing. It's water under the bridge, I guess. I don't know, apparently. But these are some of the smartest people that you can find. Like you either become a Disney Imagineer, you go to Lockheed and build weapons and go to Skunk Works, or you go to NASA, right? Or maybe MIT, I guess, and DARPA. Like, the smartest people in the world get hoovered up to do the complex work. And, that's not you and me. Like, no offense to any of my listeners, but, like, that's just not you and me. We might be higher or lower. Some of you might be smarter or less smart, but it's kind of where you end up when you're super smart. Is NSA, NASA, etc., right? It sort of sorts itself. It's a sort of self-selecting system. But so we have this weird dichotomy, of course, which is that while we're landing remote-controlled cars on Mars and trying to find if there was ever life on Mars and figure out how to terraform Mars, which I think is kind of part of the purpose of the rover. I don't know if we are going to terraform Mars, but that's at least one of the objectives of the thing. Is that meanwhile, here in these United States, we can't provide enough electrical current to keep Texans warm. Now, I understand extenuating circumstances, as they say. Like, this is a unique situation, this crazy ice storm blizzard thing that's abnormal, and the energy grid was not hardened to extreme cold because it's Texas, and they could have spent more money, etc., etc. So Ted Cruz gets himself in trouble for taking a trip while Texas is frozen, and at the same time we're landing probes on Mars, which we've been doing for some time. I'm trying to remember, was it the Sojourner Truth? Curiosity rover? There was one in the 90s, right? And it was like not our first images of Mars. I believe we landed Viking. Did Viking land on Mars in like the 80s, 70s? Because like us and the Russians were launching probes, and the Russians, Soviets, allegedly, they landed a probe on Venus, and it like dissolved within minutes. It like was melted. Didn't we land one? Like Viking 2? It was like Viking 1 landed on Mars and Viking 2 landed on Venus, or vice versa. I don't recall. But we did do that back in the 90s with the I think it was a Curiosity, and they drove it around, and it was really small. Like it was like the size of a shoebox, I think. It was like not very big. This thing is like the size of like a Ford Explorer. This thing is like the size of an SUV. It's like it has like multiple robot arms, and it's gonna do all kinds of cool, rock studies and all this stuff. And this has always been kind of the argument, is as some kind of anarcho-capitalist or whatever it is that I am, funneling all this like federal money into space travel does sort of violate my kind of, taxation is theft kind of attitude, while at the same time they've done some great work and brought us some great things. So they're, I don't know, not Velcro, Tang, I guess. No, that's not fair. The creation of orbital launch platforms, and we eventually, half a century later, arrive at Tesla and SpaceX, where it is I'm gonna say quote unquote private enterprise and there's a Tesla in front of me in traffic. A quote-unquote free market solution. I think it gets a little hazy in there. But to get a private company, again, quote-unquote, launching things into orbit, satellites, payloads, assistance to other spacecrafts, whatever, landing on other planets, right? Now that's like that's going to be the beginning of some new craziness right back here on Earth. But I say all this stuff about space travel and stuff to say, look at what we're doing here on Earth. And I understand that we get immense benefits from things like communication satellites, understanding, like if we track an asteroid that's going to hit us and we save civilization from getting nuked by space, well, then that's great. That is necessary. But we aren't actually doing that. We pour all this money into driving remote control cars around on Mars. It's not that much compared to our other budget. And in fact, look at our budgets and what we get for them. We have, in these United States, we have failing cities, collapsing infrastructure, no social health care, never mind great like free market solutions that aren't astronomically overpriced and all this other stuff. College and higher education is pointless and insanely overpriced. And yeah, like we have all these like terrestrial problems. So I guess it sometimes pays to have some kind of astronomical, celestial, maybe that's the term, a celestial kind of positioning, orientation, celestial purpose. Maybe that's what the space travel stuff gives us. If it can't keep the lights on in Texas, maybe it keeps the lights on in our hearts. That's a little bit Disney, isn't it? All right, what is this, Thursday? I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.